Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. Kieran here, and today we're going to be looking at these. This is the On Cloudstratus second generation. Now this is a shoe that On claims is built for when you want to run long and fast in comfort. It's a daily trainer, but the first generation, some runners found was a little bit firm and a little bit unforgiving. So has On nailed those issues and produced a quality daily trainer? You're going to find out in this review. So some quick key stats then. Price-wise, this is going to cost you £150 in the UK or $169.99 in the US. It comes in a weight of 305 grams. In your US money, that is a shade under 11 ounces, and it comes with an 8mm drop. So what's new with the On Cloudstratus 2? Well, one thing hasn't changed. This is still On's kind of max cushion shoe with quite a high stack of midsole foam here, but there are some things that have changed from the first generation Stratus. The original Cloudstratus was the first On shoe to feature a double stack of clouds, and the Cloudstratus 2 follows suit here with a double layer of clouds in helium foam. That's On's own kind of super foam. That double layer though now extends into the forefoot. That's there basically to provide a little more protection and cushioning along with a more responsive takeoff. And the bottom unit also includes now like a wider forefoot. That's there to provide a little bit more overall support without stifling the speed. That's the aim at least anyway. So you've still got On's cloud system here. Obviously that's familiar with their shoes, and their polypropylene speed board in the middle. That's a board that kind of sits in the middle here, and some of those are tuned to different kind of degrees to create the kind of response that you might get on toe off. It varies between On's shoes. And you've also got a slightly more pronounced kind of rocker shape along the bottom of this shoe here than you had in the last generation. When it comes to the uppers, On here has gone for kind of minimal overlays. Again, most of the kind of structure of the shoe is done with this sort of fairly dense and supportive kind of mesh. There are a few kind of overlays in key places. You've also actually got a little bit more foam, get the laces out the way there, in the heel here, and that's again, or around this kind of heel sort of housing, and that's there to sort of beef up that overall comfort when you're running kind of long. The other thing to note, I think, is they've maintained the old kind of lacing structure, so you've got this kind of interesting kind of lacing setup here at the bottom that's there to kind of really hold the foot down, and you've got this that sort of pulls in and holds across the top of the foot to give you a nice kind of secure hold. That's the same as you had in the original Cloudstratus. So flip them over then, and what you've got here on the outside is a little bit of an upgrade in terms of the grip. You've got some kind of high performance rubber in certain sections on the forefoot here, a few kind of well placed in the heel, and in places where On thinks you're actually going to need sort of extra grip and extra durability as well. That high kind of performance rubber compound is there to make these shoes last longer. The other thing you'll notice as well is that at the forefoot section, what you've got here is what On calls kind of connected cloud text. So there are no channels in between the clouds here. Even though you've got them, you can see them on the side, it's all closed into one kind of sort of forefoot unit. Not the case at the back here. You've still got the channel down the middle, and you've still got these clouds that compress here. Some other key things of note here, well, you can see around the back here, you've got quite a strong kind of reinforced heel counter. That's there to kind of hold your heel securely and offer a bit of sort of stability and protection. The other thing that you've got is inside here, down the channel, you've got like a half sock-like kind of booty construction here. So you've got gusseted tongues, and that goes right in. So you're getting this whole kind of section here up to around here is kind of wrapping the foot in great comfort. Further up the shoe, when you get into this kind of into the tongue and the kind of heel area, you've got a reasonable amount of padding here, but it's not overdone. It's not quite as thick as something you might find like on some of the more sort of cruiser style kind of Sauconys and Brooks shoes. It's kind of fairly well balanced here in and on the tongue, so that's kind of no pressure on the top of the foot, and also just around the heel. There's sort of just enough padding here for a good kind of comfortable kind of step in. That's something that On really aces really, in my opinion, is kind of this overall kind of step in comfort from the uppers. Inside around the heel, there is a bit of a kind of like a bucket seat situation going on here. So the heel sort of drops slightly down, sort of a little bit lower in here, and sits nice and comfortable. And again, that's just sort of gives you a nice kind of overall hold and feel. And you've got these overlays here in the toe box, just at the top of the toe box, and a little bit of raised rubber here that offer, fairly good stone protection, or from kicking kind of rocks and roots and whatever you might encounter if you sort of go slightly off-road, if you go onto some sort of lighter paths and trails. Final thing to say is if you do that, like me, you have to be prepared for these to get quite grimy, and they're quite hard to keep clean. So yeah, you could see these have been used a fair amount and they have picked up a fair amount of sort of grubbiness, which is quite hard to get rid of. I guess the other thing to notice from this sort of second gen is they now come in this kind of rather fetching green and white and black colorway. That's the same as the Cloudboom Echo and also the Cloud Flash. Now that is because On sort of sees these shoes as sitting within what they kind of call a family of sort of faster shoes, and they're kind of trying to pitch the On Cloudstratus as a perfect sort of training partner to your faster race shoes, the Cloudboom Echo and the Cloud Flash. So does it live up to that? Well, we're going to find out right now in our multi-tester run test take.
When it comes to fit, the On Cloudstratus 2 was spot on for me. It was true to size, really comfortable shoe. On has always done a great job of uppers, I found, and this is no exception. A really comfortable upper, nice amount of padding around the heel and tongue to suggest this is like a nice, comfortable, easy day shoe. And yeah, but you know, and these laces, I don't know if they're helping much, but it's a nice, secure fit around the midfoot as well.
I ran in my size, which is a UK 8.5, and I found it perfect, true to size. I found there was kind of ample room in the toe box, held well across the top of the foot. I didn't personally get any kind of slipping. I got good lace lockdown from this kind of star lacing kind of setup, and the fact that these kind of hold across the top of the foot. So I would definitely, in this shoe, just go true to size.
So I've done about 73k in the Cloudstratus 2, and I've had quite a few ups and downs with it. I've liked it on some runs, but not so much on others, and it's probably fair to say that the ups haven't been that high. I think overall, it's probably not a shoe that will end up going in my rotation. It's a shoe that for me works only really as a kind of base training shoe, something for kind of plodding around, some of your easy runs. I didn't really like it very much for fast stuff at all. So most stuff I've done has kind of been easy or steady running. And then when I found that when I'm doing kind of easy runs, but not on really tired legs, so kind of just base runs, it feels okay. Like it's comfortable, it is protective. Also, that doesn't tire out the legs to use it. It's got a slightly firmer ride than you'll find on many shoes these days. That's kind of typical of On, but it's not like harsh at all. And you can tick over the miles quite nicely and not really think about it too much. However, when it comes to like really pure easy runs, like real recovery runs, I didn't find that I liked it at all. I found it just a bit kind of slappy, heavy, and a little bit hard sometimes. So one run in particular, I was going out on a Wednesday night. I don't really like running in the evening that much anyway, and it was after a race on a Sunday. Real recovery run, tired legs, tired all round, and I didn't enjoy the shoe at all. I found it just a bit cumbersome, not quick, not smooth, not soft, just a kind of a bit of a lead weight on my foot on that run. And that was kind of the lowest I had with it. And then since then, I've done like a 22k long run, and I've liked a bit more, kind of doing an easy to steady run, finishing around 6-minute miling, and it can handle that pace okay. But like I said, I wouldn't push it up even to like really tempo running or anything like that. It's not a shoe that I think works as a very versatile trainer for me. And the fact that it isn't that comfortable on easy runs does leave it kind of neither here nor there for me. Like doing a lot of kind of structured training where I'm either working on kind of fast stuff like intervals or tempo or a hard long run, and then easy stuff in between, and it's not really that comfortable on the easy stuff, and it's not really fast enough, responsive enough for the fast stuff. So it ends up not being a shoe that would really work for me on kind of either level.
So for my run testing for the On Cloudstratus, I've done close to 100 miles in these shoes across a lot of varied terrain. That includes kind of roads, that includes kind of light kind of park and river path trails. I've even taken them onto some of the really kind of steep climbs and descents that you'll find around the trails of Chamonix, where, you know, home to the UTMB. So really kind of technical stuff. I've done a mixture of paces, very, very slow plodding, very, very hard leg burning climbs. And also I've done some interval work kind of on the track. So I've given them a bit of everything within those 100 miles. And to be honest, my first kind of impressions of this shoe over those kind of runs are that this is a really kind of solid, reliable workhorse of a shoe, if a little unremarkable really when you look at some of the other things that are around at the moment. Now, I really enjoyed my miles in this shoe. I found them really easy to put on and go and run in, but I wasn't really blown away by them, particularly when you kind of hold them up against some of the competition that are, you know, in this kind of daily trainer space where there are lots and lots of exciting shoes coming out. And I know that one thing that people will pick up on here, I've talked about this a lot, is that there's not quite the kind of excitement and squish and response that you'll get from some of those daily trainers that are coming out right now. You know, when you put them up against something like a Saucony Endorphin Speed 2, I know some people sort of love a Nova Blast for daily training. These don't really have that kind of exciting kind of lock and punch that you'll get from shoes like that. That's not to say I don't think they've got a sort of pretty good place in a potential kind of shoe rotation. I really find the value here with the Cloudstratus is almost in their versatility. They do run, I think, still a little bit firm. They are softer now than the Cloudstratus original. I do think this addition of this kind of second level of cloud foam that compresses, you know, you can see it sort of squishes and releases a bit more than the old Cloudstratus. That follows through into the forefoot to give you a little bit more kind of cushion and comfort over those long runs, and a little bit more response too than I found you got from the first generation Cloudstratus. That's something I like. Personally, I really like a firm shoe, so these kind of fit my bill a bit. The uppers are remarkable. I think, just for step-in comfort, these are top notch. I've really enjoyed, your foot slides in, it's hugged, the laces hold down nice and snug. There's no kind of pinch points, hot spots. The mesh I found is perfectly sort of breathable, offering kind of structure where you need it, but kind of aeration where you need it as well. So my feet didn't get hot or anything in these shoes. They're softer than a Cloud Ultra, and there is some kind of squish and response here. You can actually see it, when you've got it on video. You can feel it when you're running. But I guess there's not necessarily that kind of bouncy, sort of punchy toe off that you might get with some of those kind of more energetic daily trainer shoes. So, I guess that depends. If you like that kind of really sort of bouncy, propulsive kind of, propel you forward kind of sponginess that you get from some of the big kind of super foam daily trainers, then this maybe doesn't have as pronounced a kind of punch and response. But, if you prefer a little bit more control and a little bit more, ground contact, and, you prefer to sort of feel like you're doing a bit more of the work without sort of damaging your legs, then I think these shoes sort of offer that. For me, it's a very different ride from something like a Saucony Endorphin Speed and a Nova Blast, or even like the Hoka Mach 4. But that's to say, I really enjoyed my miles in this shoe. I particularly enjoyed being able just to sort of plod in them. That's quite a lot of the running that I've been doing lately. And I really enjoyed the fact that they coped very well with moving from road to trail or light trails. If you do a lot of training on both those terrains, then these shoes actually cope really admirably. I found them sort of pretty good in terms of stability when you were sort of running over sort of small pebbles and rocks and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I did find there was enough kind of response on the road. I don't think it would personally be a shoe that I would race in. And if I were going for my kind of really fast sort of interval sessions, I may be looking for something that offers me a little more in terms of overall kind of kick. And also, we kind of say it every time when we're talking about an On shoe, they've still got this fairly deep channel down the middle, and yes, that will catch stones. It's a particularly bad problem for me because I've got a gravel driveway that's got kind of small pebbles, and I do catch them in here quite a lot. If you go slightly off-road, you will still collect stones in these, and you will find yourself having to stop to pull them out. What can you say? That's just something that with the On design. But if you found that annoying in On shoes in the past, you're still going to find it here, particularly in the kind of rear foot. So when it comes to durability of the shoe after 100 miles, apart from them getting very, very grubby, I think they look like they're going to hold up well. No problems with the uppers, look rigid and solid. They look like they're built to last. The lacing, you're not going to get bits breaking off here, I don't think, which can happen with some shoes. The only thing that I've really noticed is, already after 100 miles in this kind of heel section, which is obviously where I'm landing a little bit more at times if I'm going downhill, I've got a little bit of wear and tear and rubbing. That may be from some of the steeper descents that I did when I was out in Chamonix. Over the rest of the shoe, it looks like we're going to, there's a fairly reliable sort of durability thing going on here. So I wouldn't necessarily say there are any problems with that at all at the moment after 100 miles.
The Cloudstratus 2 overall was okay, but it's £150. I think there are certainly better options out there for your money that are going to work better for you. Like, it does kind of maybe fill a role. It's a slightly firmer kind of daily training ride, but I just don't think it's a very versatile shoe for that. Like, I wouldn't like to use it for speed work. I don't find that the kind of difference in firmness between the foams and the speedboard in there really adds much kind of responsiveness to your toe off or anything like that. It's not heavy, but it's not light. It's over 300 grams in my UK size 9, and certainly quite a big shoe. It doesn't have a really smooth roll to it like you get with On's Cloud Boom Echo, which has a kind of really pronounced rocker on it. So I just think it's a shoe that I really wouldn't find very versatile, and I didn't find it very comfy on easy runs. So something like the Asics Nova Blast 2 I've used recently, when I did go out really knackered in the morning or in the evening on those kind of easy recovery runs, it did make them a little bit more enjoyable. It was soft, kind of fun, maybe a bit bouncy, and I did like using them for those runs, whereas this I didn't like at all for them. It just didn't make my legs feel tired. Like I say, it is protective, but it just doesn't make recovery runs feel nice, and just didn't really enjoy it. For a shoe that's kind of pitched this kind of maximally cushioned category, it doesn't feel like other maximally cushioned shoes like the Nova Blast, the Zoom, the Nike Invincible, things like that. So yeah, it ends up just being neither here nor there for me, and especially at £150, it's just such a lot of money when I think I've enjoyed shoes, like the Reebok Flutter Energy 3 or Puma Velocity Nitro just as much, probably more in fact, and they come in well under £100. They're kind of more versatile, a bit more comfortable, a bit more fun. Just generally, I think I enjoy them more as shoes, and they're much, much cheaper. And then if you are looking for kind of a firmer ride, a more versatile kind of daily trainer that does have a slightly firmer ride, then there's the Saucony Ride 14. The Skechers Go Run Razor XS. I also really like things like the Hoka Mach 4 and New Balance Rebel V2 that they are more versatile and cheaper than the Cloudstratus 2. Just lighter, more fun, still comfortable. More comfortable in fact. Yeah, just kind of like I say, just slightly better all-round shoes for me. So yeah, I didn't really dislike running in the shoe, and if you do just want a kind of general shoe with a slightly firmer ride and are looking for something protective but not squishy, this does deliver that, but it's expensive, and I still think there are better options out there. It's not really one that I'd be recommending very highly.
So my verdict on these then, these are definitely an improvement, I think, on the first gen Cloudstratus, just because they run a little bit kind of softer underfoot without becoming too soft. There's still firmness here, but that kind of overall ride comfort has been improved with the extra kind of layer of, or the addition of more Helian kind of clouds in the front here. Step-in comfort is absolutely fantastic on these. I thought they were a sort of joy to run in from that point of view. I really enjoyed my miles in them. I love the versatility of this shoe, moving from sort of different types of terrain. I also quite like the fact that you can run fast in them. They are still, for me, pretty good when you're running slow. So there's an argument to say here that if you're only going to buy one shoe and you want a versatile shoe, let's say you're just starting out on your kind of marathon journey and you want a shoe that's going to take you from your very first 5k through to the end of that sort of finish line on race day, this is a shoe that could do that. But if you just want to invest in one shoe to get through that first marathon, I think through training, through racing, this could be an interesting shoe to take. In terms of the overall daily trainer sort of situation, I think there are better shoes out there. I think even if you're looking for something that's got a little bit more pop, something like a Saucony Ride 14, something like the Puma DV8 Nitro, which is much cheaper. I think Reebok have got some good shoes out there that are coming in half the price of this, and that is one of the problems I think with this shoe. On shoes are always at a premium, and this £150. You can definitely pick up shoes that do a similar, if not better job. I think lower down that £100 mark, even cheaper. And that is a bit of a problem. I do think they look great. They're a beautiful shoe. They're very comfortable to run in, and yeah, they will do a job, but all things sort of weighed up, I think there are probably options that we would recommend over and above the On Cloudstratus, even though it is an improvement on the original first generation.